So the much anticipated movie The Match has hit the theaters, sadly in South Korea only. I said that there was a theater nearby that plays Korean movies, but apparently that theater has closed, or I don't know what's going on with it. I don't have no way to watch this movie as of right now, so I'm really hoping that once it's done its theater run, it gets picked up by some streaming service, and I will gladly pay whatever I need to pay to go and see that on that streaming service. If anyone's been able to catch the movie somehow in any way, let me know, and I'd love to hear about it. Of course, I mean, keep spoilers to a minimum, although I kind of know the basic outline of what happens. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to the movie. I can't wait to be able to watch it. I really hope I am able to watch it at some point. Unlike that one Go movie that I was trying to find a while back, I think it was like a Go Sagan movie that is just impossible to find. But yeah, that theater is closed down or simply isn't showing The Match. There's another location in LA somewhere, and I don't think they were showing it. So unfortunate for that, but I'll wait patiently. You're listening to Startpoint, the show about Go for Go fans away from the board, and today we're going to talk about the 4 Go houses. So this is a rich piece of history in the Go world back in the Edo period of Japan, which is around 200-year period from the 1600s to the 1800s, and it's period of stability and peace in Japan. During this period, the Tokugawa shogunate established these 4 houses of Go. And the shogunate, I had to learn what this was, is a sort of military dictatorship of sorts, supported by the samurai class or the daimyo. So we have the shogunate, which is like the centralized government, and then you have lords who are also samurai spread throughout the land, taking control of their each of their plots of land. And this shogunate sponsored Go, awarding generous stipends to the top players of Go. They did a lot to contribute to Go culture, formalizing the Dan ranking system, and they liked Go because it had, well, they perceived it to have Confucian values, valuing long-term prosperity, which was very much a value of the shogunate. And it was a kind of a cultural activity among the warrior elite class. They liked the intellectual aspect of Go, and they thought it kind of elevated themselves from the commoners and the peasants. And so Go was, for these kind of symbolic reasons, supported very much by the government during this 200-year period in Japan, and it allowed Go to flourish, and I believe it's a big reason why Japan became such a dominant force in Go and had been for such a long time. Now, the samurai class, I believe, started off, obviously, as what we kind of picture in our heads as samurai with, their warrior class, right? They're meant to be military leaders. But I think that as time went on, they became more bureaucratic, and it's, they're called samurai, but became more of kind of like a high-class elite group of people. So let's talk about the actual 4 houses of Go, which were supported again by the shogunate here. The Hayashi House, the Inoue House, the Yasui House, and the all-famous Honimbo House. We'll talk about them in that order. So we'll start with the Hayashi House, which was the weakest of the 4 houses. I guess indisputably the weakest one. It was kind of like a junior partner, and they never produced a Meijin player. Now, a little recap on what a Meijin is, or what it used to mean back in the day. The Meijin was considered the top, strongest player that reigned. It's kind of like the biggest title, and because Japan's Go culture was kind of local and insular, this Meijin was just deemed to be the strongest player of the time. And this Meijin player wasn't just an honorary title, they also were freed from the cares of everyday life because they received generous stipends from the government and was basically just treated as like a Go king. Most often, this title was held by members of the Honimbo school, which I will talk about a little bit more later. And it was also held by Yasuis and Inoues, but never by one of the Hayashis. So Hayashi was kind of the weakest of the bunch. And the Meijin was also considered to be the 9-dan of the time. And nowadays, we have a lot of 9-dans walking around, but at the time, there was only one 9-dan, and that was the Meijin, the strongest player. Everyone else who was at that level, close to that level of 9-dan, was considered 8-dan, and they were called Jun Meijin, which means half Meijin. So the Meijin was this kind of Go King figure, and they were also the de facto Godokoro, or I think this translates to something like Go Office. And so the Meijin is like the strongest player, but then the Godokoro is also the one who oversees the entire professional Go system and is responsible for the top decisions for approving rank promotions, mediating disputes between the houses, and being a personal tutor to the shogun, and approving various things regarding matches and keeping the whole Go world running smoothly. So the Meijin, you would think, kind of like is a title up for grabs to be the strongest player, and that anybody at any time, like in today's day, right? If Shinjinsa like is considered the strongest player right now, one day maybe he kind of falls off, and I don't know who, like Kuja becomes stronger again, and then he becomes the strongest player, and then he would become the Meijin. That's not really the case here. It was a lot more political, because once you became Meijin, you had so much power that you were kind of allowed to not play games that would have you lose the title. And this is something that kind of gets touched upon in The Master of Go, which speaks to the culture of Go in Japan at the time. It's very... if you know anything about like Japanese culture, or even Korean culture, Chinese culture, it's very respectful towards the elderly, and being the senior of something is automatically just kind of treated as you're the better of the people. And so in that vein, the Meijin actually could just be like, I'm gonna not play this game because I might lose the title of Meijin, because this person is probably actually stronger than me, but no one would really know because you never played against them. And sometimes this would happen where the strong players had so much power and so much authority over those who were newer, those who were younger, that they were able to even just not finish games that they were losing and not have that count as a loss. So there was a lot of this stuff going on, and so that means that if you became Meijin, you're basically Meijin for life. Now, the Hayashi house was an ally of the Honimbo school, so I guess it's kind of like a little brother of the Honimbo school for traditional reasons. And it was kind of like, it really was like a little brother. It didn't really survive to the very end as like an independent house. And its headship went to someone named Honimbo Shuei and was eventually merged back into the Honimbos. So that's the Hayashi house. The weakest Go house is basically all you need to know about that. And then there's the Inoue house, where the Inoue house was one of the 4 Go houses headed or introduced by Genin Inseki that you may have... you may recognize Genin Inseki from the ear-reddening game, I believe, against Honimbo Shusaku, and he's the one whose ears got red during that game. Those who were part of the Inoue house were all called Inoue Inseki. So Inseki was a name that they would take on. So Genin Inseki was partially a title, so Inoue Genin Inseki. Then the third house that I'm talking about here is the Yasui House, which was also established by Tokugawa Ieyasu, which I haven't mentioned yet. So Tokugawa Ieyasu is the shogun that started the shogunate, and he established these houses in 1612. And this house produced one Meijin named Yasui Sanshi. And the Yasui House was kind of commented that it was rather than a artistic style of play, they were more leaning into the pragmatic. Maybe nowadays, I don't know if the Korean style would be considered pragmatic. I think they would more talk about the Korean style of play as aggressive. But in any case, we know that the Japanese style of play is very largely artistic. And I guess the Yasui was more of the pragmatic bunch. The title of the Yasui House head was called Senkaku, and that was the Yasui House. And finally, we're going to talk about the big one, the Honinbo House, the one that most people have heard of. So this one was by far the strongest school of Go among the four houses, and was also the first of the four houses founded by Honinbo Sansa, who was a Buddhist monk and has been appointed Gorokoro, as you already know, the Go office head, by the Tokugawa Ieyasu, the Tokugawa shogunate, after the unification of Japan in 1603. So these four houses pretty much coincided with the beginning of this whole Edo period, with the Tokugawa shogunate taking control and leading the country into a long 200 years of peace and stability. Another Go term title that I need to review with you guys here is the term Kisei. The Kisei is currently a modern title that we use for one of the tournaments in Japan, one of the domestic tournaments, but it actually means Go Saint or Go Sage. I don't know what the best translation would be, but there are three Kisei that we kind of recognize to have been in history, and they all came from this Honinbo school. Dosaku, as I've mentioned in that one episode, I did a whole episode on Honinbo Dosaku. Honinbo Shusaku, as was very much mentioned a lot in Hakikaru no Go, and is one of the strongest players of all time. And also Honinbo Joa of the famous blood vomiting game. Apparently, Honinbo Joa is not so popular of a figure among some because of his machinations while trying to become the Meijin. So some little bit of a political manipulation there, I think, that happened with Honinbo Joa. So this Honinbo house, again, established with all the other houses in 1612, survived all the way up until 1940, and now is used as a title for the domestic Honinbo tournament in Japan. And how it became to be that way is that the last title holder of the Honinbo title, which was Honinbo Shusai, decided he actually sold the title to the Nihon Kin, and so became the Honinbo tournament, and that was basically the transfer that happened from the official house structure to the Nihon Kin's title tournament structure. Most of the holders of the Meijin title were also from the Honinbo house, so as you would kind of expect from the strongest house. And again, Honinbo Shusaku was the strongest, I think, one of the strongest players of their time. Some other Honinbos that are honorable mentions that came after the closing of the Honinbo house, that took the Honinbo title through the modern tournament method, is Takemiya Masaki, who had taken the name Honinbo Shuju, Chochi-kun, who you I'm sure have heard of, and had taken the name Honinbo Chikun, Yama Yuta, which is one of the most recent Honimbos and who reigned until 2022. And then you have Honimbo Ichiriki Ryo, who has been the Honimbo for the past 2 years. The 80th Honimbo title is actually underway right now. And Ueno Asami got to the semifinals. Actually really, really impressive. I'm excited to see if we will see a female Honimbo. So that's the Honimbo house, the strongest house. And again, the houses are the Hayashi house, the Inoue house, the Yasui house, and the Honimbo house. I think it's very interesting that they valued Go so much that they established these houses to grow the game. They also had castle games. You may have heard of castle games, which were among the strongest players of each of the houses, and they were kind of like the national big tournaments. And I really like that this is part of the Go history that we have. I think that things like this make Go so much more interesting to have. Like, I don't know, it kind of feels like Harry Potter houses to me, like Gryffindor, Slytherin, Hufflepuff, and what's the Ravenclaw. And to kind of like be assigned into a house and grow and have a competitive nature among the houses. That's something that I think that makes sports popular to watch, is the whole team aspect of it. The thing about Go is that it's an individual game and we really just have individuals, but it really gets exciting when you have these battles from these nations of Korea, Taiwan, Japan, and China, pitted against each other in tournaments like the Nongshim Cup. So I think this kind of grouping thing, it really makes for a lot of intrigue in the game and the structure of things. And I really like that kind of flavor that it gives to the game. So I hope to see more of things like that, especially maybe in the United States as the pro system grows. Maybe we can implement a little bit more of a flavored landscape for the professionals to occupy. I think that would be really cool. Eventually, actually, before I get to that, the minor houses, there are 3 minor houses who are it's kind of interesting. I don't really know why there are minor houses, but then there's also the Hayashi house, which was kind of like a junior house of the Honimbo. But each of the houses also had a minor house associated with a Mizutani associated with the Honimbo house, the Hattori, which was associated with the Inoue house, and the Sakaguchi associated with the Yasui house, which I kind of think of this as like major and minor league baseball, or like in hockey, the American League and the National Hockey League, or the NHL, which is kind of interesting here too, to see that there were smaller houses associated with each of the large houses. And then, of course, you all know this is coming. The dissolution of the 4 houses, they were pretty much kind of disbanded by the time the Meiji Restoration was taking place in Japan in 1868. That's when the shogunate kind of fell apart, and the Meiji Restoration restored imperial rule to Japan. And that was kind of the sunsetting of these houses. Although I saw a little note saying they're not sure. Maybe the Inoue house is still kind of continuing. But in either way, they're not very public, and they're hidden away, or pretty much not in existence anymore. So those are the 4 houses. I thought that they were very interesting, and to learn about the shogunate valuing the game of Go for these Confucian values and things like that, and what they saw in the game of Go, and how they used Go to leverage their class above the others, which is also an interesting point, because I consider Go to be one of those things where, yes, you do need to have some support from people around you and things like that, but it's also almost like a commoner's game where people from any background can pick it up and work hard at it and become really good at it. And so that's Go, and those are the 4 houses of Go. And I hope to see something like that in our modern Western world today. Let's learn to watch Baduk TV. Today I'm going to teach you a word that I really like, actually. It is the word for knight's move in Korean. And that word is narilja. Narilja. And the reason why I like this term so much in Korean is because it doesn't mean knight's move. It refers to a Hanja character. Hanja is kind of like kanji in Japanese, or it's just the Chinese equivalent character. They also study Chinese characters in Korea because those are the roots of a lot of the Korean terms. So this Hanja character, which means sun or day, it is like two boxes stacked on top of each other. And if you look at the knight's move, it is from one corner of the two boxes to the other corner, and that is what forms the narilja, or the Hanja character for knight's move. And so they use that little two-box shape as the reference to what to call that move. And so today's Baduk TV term of the day is narilja. Right, narilja. So whenever you see somebody make a knight's move and they say narilja, you know they're talking about knight's move. So keep an eye out for that when you're watching Baduk TV. Today's Baduk TV word, which is narilja, or knight's move. So speaking of what's going on in the Western world of pro stuff, the North American Pro Tournament, the first ever, amazing, I think has wrapped up. I didn't see an official article. I wasn't able to catch the live game or anything like that, but it seems like it was a 5-round thing, and Bill Lin has taken the title for the first North American Pro Tournament of 2025. So this is a tournament that involved 6 professional players. I will list them: Bill Lin, Ryan Lee, Yoon-Young Kim, Henry Yu, Alexander Chi, and of course Michael Chen. And so these players faced off in a round robin, rounds of 5 matches. I guess that makes sense. 5 other players in the round robin, and Bill Lin took the lead with dropping only 1 game to Alex Chi, so for a 4-1 win-loss record. So congratulations to Bill Lin. He is the newest pro in the North American Go Federation scene. And then Ryan Lee took second place with 3 wins and 2 losses. And all the other players, Yoon-Young Kim, Henry Yu, Alexander Chi, Michael Chen, all had the same record of 2 wins and 3 losses. So a really, really cool tournament, I think. I'm so happy this happened because I have been thinking, like, this needs to happen. We have enough pros now that we can form our own inner circle tournament without having to engage with the Eastern world or the European world. We can have one here in the United States and North America in general, because, you know, Ryan Lee's Canadian. Yoon-Young Kim is actually a Korean professional. She's an 8P, so she's actually the highest ranked out of everybody. But you know that the professional rankings, they don't necessarily mean that they're that much stronger, because they're more awarded based on number of wins. So there's some correlation, but it's not exact. And so congratulations again to Bill Lin and then Ryan Lee for taking second place. And then obviously to all of them. So for even making it to the level of Go that they play here and fostering a high level Go culture in North America. It's really great to see this. I hope to see this more often. And then as our pro system grows, this will get more and more exciting. It'll be amazing. So I'm really happy about this. So let's get into some DDK advice. And the tip of the day is, don't play the empty triangle. I encountered somebody who played an empty triangle against me, and it was just a terrible move. Don't play an empty triangle unless you really have seriously avoided playing the empty triangle for a good amount of time. Then you can kind of consider, okay, is an empty triangle the right move here? I think once you've gotten the empty triangle out of your system, then you can start reintroducing it in certain situations. But if you don't know what you're doing and you've been playing empty triangles, stop it, because they're not good. And then we can talk about it later on, because, you know, every Go rule, there's exceptions. So avoid the empty triangle. Very simple DDK advice corner today. And now it's time for listener mail. Kendall writes, I recently binged a bunch of episodes on a road trip, and I noticed you've repeatedly mentioned memorizing pro games. A while ago, I created an application specifically for memorizing games. If you haven't tried it, I humbly offer it to you for your consideration. And then there's a link here, and I'll share with you guys the link as well. And I haven't tried it before, but I did just try it by looking at the link here. And I tried it out. I uploaded a game real quick, and it's really cool. It just kind of allows you to, it's almost like the same feature as in Sabaki, but one additional feature that this has is you can create a random board position from the file, and it'll test you from that position specifically. So if you want to test if you know which situation and each sequence was played out in, then it's great for that. So I might use it from time to time. So thanks for sharing your little program. It's awesome that you made that. And it says thank you for entertaining me while I couldn't play. You're very welcome. You're very welcome. You know, I talk really quickly sometimes, and I think I do this in real life too. And especially in the podcast, when that happens, I start going off the rails. My tongue starts telling me slow down, and I'm just like, blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's enough of that. Thanks for writing in, Kendall, and I'm glad you were able to enjoy some Starpoint on your road trip. Too Responsible writes, just listened earlier, great pod. Well, thank you so much for your kind words, and I'm glad you enjoyed Starpoint. So thanks for listening to Starpoint. My boy writes, meeting with a new Go Club this evening, teaching a bunch of beginners. Nothing like some Starpoint to get me in the headspace. That's really awesome. Let me know how that went. Super exciting to be able to introduce Go to new people and teach them about the game. And a new club, that's awesome. Like to be able to meet with a new club and teach people who are not as strong as you and share some of your knowledge. That's what Go's all about in my head. Like, that's what it's all about. So thanks for listening again to my boy. And then Sadaharu writes, I think once you reach a certain level, it's hard to improve just by doing a single thing or knowing a single shape/joseki. Just like you said, everything will add up together and contribute to the improvement holistically. Everything you study and every single game you play will add up your holistic score as long as you play/study seriously. So the important thing is to keep on going and not give up just because you don't see immediate results. Perhaps one way to judge whether you have improved or not is to see whether your thought processes have changed when playing games. If you are faced with a similar situation but are thinking differently this time, there's already an improvement no matter how the result may turn out. Of course, an easier way is to beat someone whom you've lost to before, smiley face. I think like it's kind of hard to keep track of sometimes though, of how your brain starts to think. Which I think is why it's very useful to keep some kind of journal or take notes in your SGF, and then you can go back and see if you've changed or if you've been the same the whole time. But yeah, that's basically what the whole episode was about, is that like basically you have to do everything, and then each of these things will add incrementally to your improvement, and then they will show up eventually. And you just have to have faith in that. But man, sometimes I just feel like, am I just running on the same spot for a while? And it just kind of gets to me. But I sometimes I can feel myself improving. I don't know if you guys relate to this, but there are times when I've studied for a while, and then even though my rank number hasn't changed, I just feel better. Like I feel like I'm a better Go player, even though the rank hasn't changed. Have you guys felt that before? I feel like the rank isn't always one-on-one with your improvement, and they kind of lag against each other and they catch up to one another eventually over time. That's been my experience anyway. And continuing, by the way, I thought you play on a daily basis, so I was surprised that you have not played a live game in a long time. If you play correspondence mainly, feel free to send me a request anytime. And that I did, Sadaharu. We started our first game, so we'll see how if you get to my game though. I saw that you have like over 200 games of correspondence going on, so you're one of those people. I have like 10 or so. Like that's my game. That's my number. I unfortunately haven't been able to play many live games lately. I've been preparing for getting married and all stuff like that, so I've been very busy, and I hope to get back into the groove eventually. But Sadaharu, I would also like your thoughts on the whole correspondence thing. Seems like you're a fan of correspondence games. Are they conducive to improvement? I'd love to know your thoughts on that. And thanks again always for writing in. And finally, Saventus says, I think the proverb of study Joseki, lose 2 stones is also a wisely prudent caution against rote play. We see this all the time nowadays with players plunking down AI moves until they're stumped. Then they have to scramble in the void because the position is not born of their own Go logic. Yeah, that's very true, and it's something I always fall victim to because I love studying Joseki and I love studying proper moves, and when I see it, I play it. But it's not always the right thing, and sometimes it's my own downfall. But it's also very tricky to really define whether you've understood something, because I've been playing a couple of very weak players, and they've stumped me because they play these moves that are so out there that I just get lost. Like, what am I supposed to play? I know that's a bad move, but I have no idea what I'm supposed to do with that move. So I often think that we just kind of guess at a lot of what's right and what's wrong. Sometimes I'm reviewing a game and I'm like, you're not supposed to do this, you're supposed to do this. But do I really understand why? No, not always. Maybe I could ration it out, but I think a lot of Go knowledge is like intuition. So it's just stuff that you know because you've been taught it and you've reinforced it and you've had results with it. And it's hard to explain many a time. Continuing, Go is a thinking game, so to follow Joseki without thinking because you have memorized and studied is a huge pitfall, and one of the reasons why your play might weaken if you study Joseki rather than study Joseki, understand Joseki. Rather than study Joseki, understand Joseki. Ask questions. What is the purpose of this sequence? Why these moves? Why not that move? Yeah, I get what you're saying, Saventus, but that's really hard. It's really hard. Like, if I sit with a simple Joseki and I question every move, I will never leave the board. I will never move on to any other Joseki. It's so hard. Like, each move, I'm just kind of like, why not this move? Why not that move? Why not this move? And I never know the answer. And it's really, really difficult to really question everything. And it kind of gets exhausting, which is why maybe sometimes we take the shortcut of not questioning things and just playing them. And so maybe there's a balance, right? Maybe you should try to understand as much as you can and think a lot about each move. But it's okay to not know specifically every single variation of that move. Continuing, as I mentioned before, it's not just Joseki these days. People are becoming unthinking slaves of the AI blue spot. The genesis of every move in a game of Go should be you. You should never play a move merely because it's Joseki or because the AI would play there. You should play a move because you have a plan, a logic behind it. Fujisawa Shuko emphasized this greatly, and he would praise bad moves if they had a good logical backing and chastise good moves if they did not have any sound logic behind them. This is key. I think you hit the spot there. I definitely think that there is some merit to that kind of approach, especially because without a theory backing your move, without an idea that you have behind your move, there's nothing for you to fix. You see, like, if I'm saying like, oh, I'm gonna play here because I think it allows my group to live, right? Let's say that's my theory. Whereas somebody else plays there and they don't have a theory behind it. They just kind of like, it looks okay. That's the best they can explain. But I have something that's like, oh, I think this is the biggest point on the board, or this is my living move. This move threatens this group. There's a purpose to that move. If you have a purpose and it's wrong, then you can refute it. Like, oh, that move you played, you say that you played it because you want to keep your group alive. Well, guess what? Your group's already alive. And you're like, oh, I didn't know that. Then I would have played something else because I don't think I need to keep that group alive anymore. Whereas if you just play a move and you don't have any reason for it, you just think that's the blue spot move, then it's like you can't disprove that. You're just like, well, that's not the blue spot move. And it's like, oh, okay, I'll guess better next time. And there's nothing for you to fix. So I think you definitely hit the nail on the head in that, Saventus. So thanks for your insights in the listener mail. So the question of the week this week is, what did you think of the Go houses? Or what do you think of that whole structure in general? Do you think there's something in there that inspires you to see how we can structure Go differently today in today's world? Or how would you like to see our professional systems grow, and how would you like to see those things change? And does that flavor of the Go houses mean anything to you? I'd love to know your thoughts. So if you want to share your thoughts on that question, or if you have a Go story to share, or you want to ask me a question, leave me a comment, or you can email me directly at starpointbaduk@gmail.com. That's starpointbaduk@gmail.com. If you're a YouTube listener, I would greatly appreciate a like and or a subscribe. If you're a podcast listener, reviews and ratings also help. And very special thank you, as always, to James B. and Tristan for supporting Starpoint. If you want to support the show in any capacity, you can go to kofi.com/starpointbaduk. That's KO-FI. Or peruse the Starpoint store at store.starpointbaduk.com. And you know what Segoe Kenzaku used to say when his student would run red lights? He would say, "Stop, Sagan." Thanks for listening. Keep playing Go.